How much of your meaningful business communication with clients or with agencies has been hanging out?
They always say the business deals are made on or closed on golf courses, right? So I started taking up golf. Okay. I've heard, don't go to networking events. Everyone there is looking to network.
Stacey,
Chris,
thank you so much for being with us today.
I'm happy to be here.
How does design interlink with human empowerment?
Well, what a doozy. In terms of the human experience and fashion, we feel better when we feel pretty, when we feel good about ourselves. And whatever it is that makes you or I feel pretty is what I consider to be fashionable, and how that combines fashion in a human experience.
What part of the experience of wearing clothes that make you feel beautiful is for oneself versus how one is perceived by other people?
That's a good question, too. I think quite often people are performing without knowing. Everything that we do, at least in the very early stages of life, is learned behavior. What we perceive to be good, bad, respectable, entertaining. When you tell jokes to try to make your friends laugh. When you say something to sound cool, but it has no real meaning, most of the time we are doing things that we believe to be perceived well by society, by our friends, our clients, strangers. How much of that is individual? I think that's kind of like a lifelong journey to separate what you actually like compared to what you thought you liked, what your parents told you was good for you, what you thought, what society said was the norm. And some people don't find that out. Some people always follow what we've learned without really discovering if it's really what they want.
Do you think most people perform for an audience who isn't watching?
On one hand, I was just thinking about, they say dance like no one's watching, right? I'm going to do that. Okay, I'm going to dance when I sweep, when I'm cooking. I cook with love, so I do it. I don't know what's wrong with me. I may be doing it like someone is watching, But do people behave? Do they behave in a way, perform like someone's watching, even when they're alone? Perhaps, if, for example, if we say right or wrong, if someone's watching, or if you think someone is watching, then typically from those experiments, we behave better. So when we're alone, we are our true selves. But maybe subconsciously, when we have doubts, we think about right or wrong as if someone was watching. What we ultimately do is what we choose to do in the moment. But at the same time, you may come home and drop your clothes at the door because, hey, the cleaning lady's not coming this week, Some people clean before the cleaning lady comes. So I'm a 50-50 on that one.
Do you think there's a benefit to somebody's own inner peace to dress up in the first thing in the morning, to do their hair and makeup, to do their skincare routine, even if they're not going out at all?
Yes. your confidence. I think people undervalue how much feeling good about yourself helps your mental. It can give you, when you do it on a regular basis, and that is interrupted, then it can give you a sense of normalcy. I went through, most people don't know, but I was hospitalized for several months after having major surgery and in a foreign country. And at a certain point, I started doing my nails, doing my hair, doing my routine, because I've been there so long. And you don't feel like yourself. And then when you look in the mirror, you see someone you don't recognize, and doing things that made me feel, it sounds so silly, but pretty. It gave me a sense of normalcy. You're in the hospital, you can't wear nail polish. No one's going to see my pretty toes, but I did it for me because it made me feel good. It's like perfume. If I spray a perfume, I smell it. I'm not leaving the house, but I smell it and I feel happy. I feel good. I definitely think that grooming, self-care, improves your mental health. And even if you don't leave the house, you still bathe.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
As far as we know.
As far as we know. And putting on, not to get all nerdy and stuff, but your senses, color, touch, smell. These are things that invoke something in your brain. It triggers something. So when you touch something soft, that stimulates you. So wearing a fuzzy sweater, you just want to keep hugging yourself more. When we do our treatment, we specifically do it on one hand, so that you have one soft hand and you're like, this is great. But then you compare it to your other hand and you're like, what was I doing before? Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. And you just feel happier and happier each time you feel the difference.
In a world where so many people are consumed with this device, where we are looking at other people, we're constantly, our eyes are looking at other people. We're observing people going on vacation, these elaborate adventures on social media. We're vicariously watching other people, or thinking about other people all the time. Is there something about that ritual you're talking about touching yourself every day, kind of smelling yourself every day, that really puts you in touch with yourself and almost kind of brings your perspective back to yourself and back into the real world, and you're not vicariously watching the world through other people's eyes, but you're kind of coming back to yourself?
Well, for one, I say put the phone down. Stop. My family can't stand me because I'll leave my phone. Like, I'm going for a walk, take a break from social media. Just stop. Read. Okay. Go into nature. Stop comparing yourself to other people. You don't even know if what they're doing is true, if it's real. Just stop. Don't believe it. Or look at it for entertainment purposes. But limit your consumption. In terms of doing things for self-care to bring you back to reality, I'm a firm believer in communicating with an individual versus texting, seeing a person face to face, and putting your gadgets away. People like to multitask. It's fantastic to stay connected with people, especially as a traveler, and having friends and connections all across the globe. Without it, I wouldn't be able to keep connections as easily because I can't talk to them on the phone every day. I can't see them in person regularly. It's just not possible. So the phone, the social media has that positive aspect, but you can get lost in it. Having a routine, waking up, do your affirmations, say your gratitude, really stopping and being grateful for what you had this morning. I woke up, thank you. Practicing that, as well as taking time for yourself. So for some, that is taking care of your skin. We're all aging. Touching your skin. Men don't touch your skin enough until you get a woman. And then we get you guys together, and then you start to enjoy it. You're like, oh, this is nice. I'm putting cream on my face. I'm a dude, but you start to enjoy it because you see the difference. You see what it does for you. But those routines are normally started or taught to you by someone. For women, it's typically their parents, their moms come in and you watch what your mom does and then you imitate it. And then you grow older, then you find out what works for your skin. I might sound sexist. Men, you get with a woman, you see what she has in her cupboard, and then you take it and you start dabbing into that. Pausing and then filling your time up with something that makes you feel good. For me, I need to have my cup of tea in the morning. Most of the times we wake up, we grab our phone. Not even, some people check your email for work. Other people go look at other people's lives first thing in the morning. And then you get up and you start running. Or you start thinking about everything you have to do. Before I do that, I want my cup of tea. I don't want to think about anything, even if it's for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. But this is my alone time. And it's warm. It feels good in my hands. And I know that even if my brain wants to start working and I have a million things to do, it does not matter. 5 minutes won't kill me. And I notice that I'll hear the birds singing. I can do whatever I want, but I choose to do nothing. I think that is a way to detach from the phone and get settled in to yourself, and it makes you want to continue to have that time. And then you might want to, you may decide to extend that time and fill it up with some extra stuff. Hey, I like my 5 minutes with my tea. I like sitting and doing nothing. You may decide adding in some time in nature, walking, or just sitting there. Food, having my meal. I don't stand and eat. I don't multitask and eat. I learned that in Italy. When it's time to eat, we sit down. I don't care if I've cooked my pasta, and remember, I'm singing and I'm pouring love into it. So I'm having a great time.
And it's high quality grain.
No boxes, no preservatives, no canned stuff. No, I do fresh herbs and all of this delicious stuff. You stop and you eat. Maybe we don't take a 2-hour siesta like in Spain and Italy, but you stop. And we're not used to doing that. That'll bring you back because it just gives you a moment to disconnect.
Is there an interlink between one's own fitness and stopping to eat?
You do not multitask while you eat. You have to shut down. You'll be more productive if you take breaks. You rush through if you make mistakes, if you're trying to dip your fry or something into the stuff and then the grease from your hands is now on your paperwork, stop. You will feel better. So I have this weird idea. Okay, it's all my own personal field research. So when you're trying to do international business, right? And you're connecting with people, companies, but individuals that work for this company, and you're reaching out to Italians. In America, you call at what time?
8 a.m.
Exactly. And after a certain point, maybe at 10:45 or 11:05, you won't, because you will seem less professional, right? If you were serious, you're 8 a.m., 9:05. You want to, that's how you show that you're serious. You definitely do not call in the afternoon. No one's taking you seriously. You don't call in the afternoon. In Italy, when I had to do my cold calls, when I was working as an agent, and so I'm trying to call these fashion houses, I'm trying to call these wholesale distributors. I'm cold calling. So I knew that, okay, if you call first thing in the morning, they're just getting into the office. You do not call right before lunch.
They hangry.
They're hangry, okay? And you can call in the afternoon, right after lunch, because they're happy. It was amazing. Where no one will pick up my phone call in New York at 1 p.m. or 1:15 or 2:15, because who calls at 2 p.m.? Nobody. In Italy, they'll pick up your phone call, and they're talking. Their stomach's full. They had their break. They disconnected. They had their espresso. Come back into the office. Yeah, we'll talk to you. What's going on?
How much of your meaningful business communication with clients or with agencies has been hanging out?
They always say the business deals are made on or closed on golf courses, right? So I started taking up golf. Okay. I've heard, don't go to networking events. Everyone there is looking to network. They're not in a position to be of use. Everyone's there for the same thing. The people who actually have the decision makers are not at networking events. I think there's truth to that. I will say that I was signed to one of the top 3 agencies worldwide. And before that, I was signed to an agency. I walked in. It was my 5th or 6th day in Italy. I walked in. You have your book. No one cares. You're speaking to the receptionist. I didn't have a book. I had Polaroids. Took it in. She came back out. No, thank you. Here's a list. Maybe check out these other places. I'm walking down the street. I stopped this tall girl. I'm like, she should know. And she's walking with a gentleman. And I start speaking in my broken Italian. Scusa, tu sai dove posso trovare? She says, do you speak English? I said, I do. Thank goodness. Okay. I'm trying to, I'm looking at some modeling agencies, and she's like, I'm a model. And her friend, the guy she was with, says, my friend owns a modeling agency. And he showed me the name on the list. I said, oh, I went there. They didn't accept me. And he asked, did they see you in person? I said, no. I sat at the front desk. He said, so no one saw you? I said, no. I said, okay, come on. So all three of us, we walked 5 blocks, around, walked into the agency, says, hey, my friend Guido, his real name, walked me past the receptionist into the office, the booking room, all the bookers, like 10 people in the room, pulled my book again. He's looking through it. There's nothing in there. I was looking through. He looked at me. Looking through. Everyone looks. Okay. Sign the paperwork that day. Like that. So the connections definitely come from being in the right place at the right time, but really emphasizing on right place. The right place for me means doing the work, putting, even if you don't know what you're doing, devising a plan and starting to execute it. And I met them. Yes, that wasn't me. That was God's will. But I had my list of agencies. I had already started going. I was in that area. I stopped who I thought was a model who could give me some feedback. But I was on the block with the agency because I was already getting up every morning and going to them.
It's like they say, there's no point in trying to make it in the movies because you have to meet Steven Spielberg in the elevator. And then there's the guy that goes into every elevator in Los Angeles.
If you get on the elevator, you're going looking for something, right? Apparently it doesn't come when you're looking for it. You do the work, and then you'll meet them on the stairs.
Oh, man. How good are people at detecting when you want something from them?
Oh, it's like a dog in fear. Like you can smell it a mile away. And nobody likes that. In business, I've read, I've heard, I've seen, if you lead with what you can do for others, you'll get a much better response. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows how to win friends and influence people, right? Same principle. Remember names, do that. I'm still working on it. And show up being able to serve. So if you want something from me, am I really interested? Less than if I wanted something from you. So if you lead by telling me, hey, I want you to buy something, I don't want to buy anything. But if you come in giving me something that I want or helping me, my ears are open. That's for every person. Everyone wants to receive. But if you coming in asking me to give, doesn't mean I won't, but my ear doesn't perk up as quickly as if I can receive something. And so if you approach business that way, customers that way, then you'll get a better response. I want to do business with you, but you still have to present it in a way where it's helping me. Your client, they don't want to give you their money, even if they have a bunch of money. We're not doing charity right now. You're asking me for money. So lead with, instead of leading with, I want your money to help you with your skincare problem. Let me add value and give you something. Maybe I can give you a free sample. Maybe I can give you some education, and then for free. And then if you see that it was useful, then you will start to have some trust, build some confidence with me. We'll start to have a relationship. And then when you decide you are ready, then I'll be the first person on your mind. And that's how we should approach everything. Lead with what you can give, not with what you want.
I had a great conversation with a gentleman I met yesterday at a networking event. He said, this funny thing, he says, whenever he attends one of those big booth events, he asks this question. I'm going to give away a secret here. He asks, hey, Stacey, you and me are on a road trip. We're going down to Texas to visit some of your family, and we stop at the Wawa on the way down. And you have $10, and you have to spend it at the Wawa. What do you spend it on?
Gas. Am I getting gas? Is the Wawa at the gas station?
No gas.
I'm going into the store.
Just snacks, just for you.
Snacks? Okay.
Just ammunition for the trip.
Ammunition for the trip. Sunflower seeds, water, and I would like to say maybe a coffee drink or a snack. Like, I don't typically eat this stuff, so that's why I would treat myself, and I would get something like Doritos.
What kind of Doritos?
Ranch.
So this gentleman, Alexander, my friend I met, he says, okay, he will remember that at the trade show. And every time he sees that person again, he will have sunflowers and Ethos water and Cool Ranch Doritos. And he spent $10 on them. And he'll give them, hey, here you go.
I love that.
And he says he goes to all of these trade shows, and people say, like, you meet 50 people at a trade show, and they don't remember anyone's name. But every time they're like, Alexander, I remember you from a year ago when you bought me the sunflower.
That is an amplified version of How to Win Friends and Influence People. Remember the note. And he's in the guy's office, and he sees a picture of the dog. And he asks him, no one can get a meeting with this guy. And then he's like, how's Sandy, your dog? And he's like, she's doing good. She just had babies. You know what? Come on in. They say I is the most important letter of the alphabet. People like talking about themselves, so let them do it. And ask questions. That is how I ask a lot of questions. But when we're anxious to sell something, sell ourselves, we talk when we should be listening. Because no matter what you say, more than likely the person is more interested in themselves in a certain way, you know. So I don't care who you are. If Barack Obama walked up to you and you're like, oh my goodness, this is Barack Obama, walking up to, who's your favorite podcast host?
Chris Williamson.
So Chris Williamson. What's your last name?
Cole.
All right. Just making sure. I was like, oh, you just
myself.
do me.
Not that much.
I was like, oh, you got me. So Chris Williamson walks up to you're in the room with him in the elevator. And he turns to you and he's like, tell me about your podcast. And he's like, that is really interesting. How'd you think about that? How'd you come up with that concept? And he starts asking you questions. Your whole goal was to talk to him because you're like, I want to know how you did it. You're my favorite person. I study what you do. You can't even get around to it because he's asked you questions and you're talking about yourself. You walk away feeling great because he's interested in you, right? So what that happens is the next time you thought you liked him before, you love this man now. And they also say the person who asks the questions controls the conversation. I read that in some business book. Yeah, so right now, who's in control here? You know? So yeah, I think that I love that tip. I was told to make a top 100 list. These are your VIPs. These are people with impact. And you have this information, and then you make sure that you make a note and you write down something about them. Whether it's their favorite snack, whether they love football, whatever it is, you write down something memorable about them. And then birthday time or holiday, when you run into them, you can pull that fact up. You're reaching out because maybe you didn't need them. You haven't had any communication for a year. And now there's something where you're aligned and you want to reach out to them. And so, hey, Chris, I know I haven't talked to you in a while, but, he likes rabbits. You're like, you can bring up a rabbit. And now you start the conversation with a different note, different tone, because there's no way you can remember everything. Put it in an Excel sheet in the note on your top 100.
As a person who might be trying to sell something or build a connection with a person they might feel intimidated with, how effective is that giving mentality you're talking about at decreasing, diluting the anxiety somebody might feel?
So I'm not intimidated by most. I would say anyone. Why? Why are we intimidated? Because they've done something you haven't done yet? I believe you can truly admire and respect people and what they do. I'm a huge cheerleader. Some people won't cheer for you because they think it diminishes who they are. They won't compliment you because, well, they probably get complimented on that all the time. So I'm not going to do it. I don't want to embarrass myself and say something weird or inappropriate. I don't think about any of that. I could care less what you think about me. I'm coming from a positive space. That's all that matters. There's no malice. I can love what you do. I can think you're the greatest at it. And I will tell you that because I don't know if you hear it just because you're perceived a certain way. What I know is that I think you're great. I don't know if you heard it today, but I'm going to share it with you. I like that jacket. Okay. So there's no, intimidation is something that's psychological. The anxiety, and this is going to sound tough, but get over it because you're overthinking. What is the worst that can happen? I love this judge. She is no longer on television. She was a judge on divorce court. And she said she suffered from anxiety to a certain extent. And when she had to confront something, she would think of the million things that could go wrong. And she would get herself all worked up about it. So what she started doing was, when she was worried about something, she'd pull out her book and she would write down all the different scenarios that it could go wrong. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the week, after she went through whatever meeting she had to do or whatever that was bothering her, she would pull out the notebook and she would review it. And she said, "Do you know how I felt after reading it? Stupid."
Nothing went wrong.
Yeah, none of these million things that you wrote down happened. And so she just started making that her routine. So eventually, I guess she got it under control and stopped overanalyzing and overthinking and worrying about things that hadn't happened yet. I'm a positive person. I choose to think about the positive possibilities and to abstain from negative speech and thought. So you just take no out of your vocabulary. Can't. No negative word. And then your brain has to restructure the sentence. I don't want that. What if they tell me I won't get the job? You can't use that word. Not. Once you take that word away, and then you start focusing on your positive. Because first, abstain from negative speech, negative thought, and then reframe it to focus on the positive outcome. Whatever the desired outcome is, start saying that, and you'll catch yourself.
I came across the most beautiful quote about a month ago. When you remain steadfast in your abstention of thoughts of harm towards others, all living creatures will cease to feel enmity in your presence.
Ooh. And that was deep.
And I thought, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And the people that I am most at peace with in their presence are those that I can detect have no feelings of harm towards other people. I can tell there's no envy, there's no jealousy in their heart.
Absolutely. Fear is one thing. Malice is another.
Can you expand on that?
So, remember earlier I referenced not having I'm not intimidated by anyone, and I will be a cheerleader for someone, a complete stranger, without fear. I'm not worried about what you think, how it makes me look. I don't have any malice in my intent, in my communication, in my heart. So there's no way that you can take this the wrong way. And if you do, it's a miscommunication. But I know the place I started from did not have any malice. I did not intend to cause harm, even if I did, right? So approaching things without fear takes some gut and action. It's normal and it's natural to experience moments when you are afraid of something, but that doesn't have to be a place you stay in. And malice is just malice, you know? And I think wanting something from someone has a more negative connotation than positive. So if you're giving rather than receiving, if you're offering, if you're helping, if you're not seeking anything from it, where is the malice? What harm can come from it? If you start from a good place, always start from there. Positive. Be a positive person. I don't know you to help you. How did we meet?
At a booth in Center City.
At a booth in Center City. I'm busy. I have to get here. I have to stop what I'm doing. You were polite. If you can do, you do. The answer is going to be yes. Yes to everything. If you can, do it. Without thinking what I'm getting from it. Are you going to take this and do something malicious with it? Hope not. But my intent wasn't. And you show up, you do your best, you have good intentions, you be respectful, and let that be the end of it without how it's benefiting a person. Because sometimes people are selfish with, well, this is good for them, so this and this and this. So what? Who cares? Is it hurting you? Well, what's the problem? Positive. Just give and give freely. Because if you give begrudgingly, that's wrong too.
Is it possible for you to make a leap between fear and making assumptions of people? Absolutely.
People are typically fearful of things that are unknown to them. So if you're unfamiliar with a person, this is my opinion, and I didn't study the science on it, but I believe that is a human trait. That's like instincts, stuff. I don't want to say stuff. If we go back in time, this is how we as humans survived. We had to assess things. We had to, and we did that from language. This is how I can identify which tribe you're from, which region you're from. If I didn't know you and resources were scarce, then I had to take anyone approaching me as a threat to my resources, to my livelihood. If I was a male, I have females that need protection. So you're a threat if you get even close. If I was a female that had offspring, you are a threat. So anything unknown is a threat.
Do you think we perceive mild to moderate antisocial behavior or cues as a threat?
Yes, because it is different. And anything that's unknown and different is a threat. I mean, at the very, very basic level, society is based off of rules and structure and what is considered normal. If you step outside of that, then you are abnormal. You are going against society, what society has dictated as proper, as standard. Now, depending on how you respond to things that are abnormal, depends on the individual or that society. That's why when you go to a different country, they have different laws, they have different cultural or societal norms. Anything, being left-handed for a long time was considered not only abnormal, the devil. You know, it was they at one point they would strike your hand, you know, and to teach you to write with your right hand. You know, yeah. Further back, they would take your hand and force you to write with your right hand. You would have to become right-handed. Further back, it was considered, you know, like, I hate to say, you know, but demonic or you know, like whatever they called it when they would burn the witches at the stake. You know, that was how they looked at left-handed people. Fast forward to modern day science and more education, and they're like, hey, people with that are left-handed are actually, you know, maybe a little bit smarter. They're using the opposite side of the brain. They're a little bit more creative. And so now I still have to deal with right-handed scissors in this world made for right-handed people, but it's no longer seen as a threat or something that is so bad. But yes, modern day society, if you do things different, you are considered an outcast, abnormal. When we know there are ranges, you can be, you can be different and positive, or you can be different and dangerous.
As someone who is an unknown to someone that you're meeting, how can you become a non-threatening presence?
Smile. With certain animals, you smile, you show your teeth, it's a threat. For us, it's disarming. You know what else I think? Glasses. Wearing glasses, that's an approachable, maybe not it doesn't make a person more approachable, but they say less threatening.
Interesting.
You know?
Isn't there something about old people and like infants that people feel very non-threatened about? It's like you see an old couple just walking down the street, you're like, oh, they're so cute. I love that. Like,
yes. Yeah. A baby Rottweiler compared to a full adult size one. A baby Cane Corso, you know, he's so cute. He is a killer, you know, but he's so cute. Yeah, you're absolutely right. What I like to do is watch children, small children. They are instinctively attracted to this is what I've read, to pretty people. So a little baby will walk up to you and raise their hand, pick me up, in general, they don't have these society norms yet of what is a threat. Whatever, it's not limited to pretty people, but whatever they see is what they see, and they act as such. So yes, whereas someone may see someone with big hoop earrings or their hair braided and or a face full of makeup, and may make assumptions. A child may see something pretty and shiny they can grab on. They may see hair that's long or different from theirs, and they find that pretty, or they may be curious about it. But as adults, we have these norms, and we make these assumptions based off of it. And that comes back to your original question about fear. Absolutely. I've had some very I could say disturbing, but I've had some conversations that were harsh, filled with vitriol, and the person on the other side, where the people on the other side didn't realize how harsh their comments were coming off as. And even Mark Cuban once made a comment after Trayvon Martin. He mentioned, hey, you let's be honest, if I saw a guy in a hoodie, I would be afraid. And it was very controversial, given what happened. And hey, guy, you work with a basketball team. All your players could have been Trayvon Martin. Fear can be irrational, but fear is also learned behavior. He associates maybe not the color of someone's skin, but the hoodie as something that, I guess, shady people wear hoods, So having conversations with people from different countries, they have different societal norms, wearing different clothes, having tattoos. There are things that for them, this is how bad people dress, or this is what bad people do. And so if I came to this country and I saw someone who looked like that, I would be afraid, So, yeah, different people do. And so you have to be mindful of what you allow to influence, what material and media you consume, because you will be influenced subconsciously. And then there are your own personal experiences. And so you have to condition yourself to step outside of that. You have to educate yourself to realize this is one perspective, this is one experience. And a lot of people don't have the desire to do that, because it's much easier to shape your opinion based off of one experience, which I personally think is narrow-minded and dumb. One opinion is just, one experience is not enough. It's just not. And I think it's not intelligent to form an opinion and then verbalize it, and your own personal data is limited to 1 or even 20 experiences.
I remember I was a wedding videographer for 6 years, and just higher end weddings. And I remember if you know the bridal industry a little bit. The vulnerable time of the day is when you first are putting the dress on at the beginning of the day. You're in the hotel, or your girlfriend's around, the mom is there. It's a very stressful time for a bride to have that moment, to be, putting the dress on. Oh, is it going to fit right? Is everything ready to go? The whole day's ahead of me. And then in walks the 6'2" bass tone videographer. And the videographer stigma. It's a little kind of weird.
Oh, I don't know the stigma.
Well,
Tell me.
Sometimes videographers what is filming? What is? And so
there's backstage getting a little sneak peek.
Well, no, not necessarily. Just kind of like there's kind of a general awkwardness with some videographers in the video realm. It's kind of been that way for a long time. And I would walk in, be like 20 years old or whatever, and I'd be like, hey guys, I'm Chris, I'm the video person today. And they look at me like, oh hi, you're filming me putting my and then time goes by. And I started finding myself walking into the dressing room where the girls are, half dressed, getting ready for the day. And I'm like, hi, girls. I'm Chris. I'm the videographer today. It's going to be great. I slowly could detect my voice pitch going up a little bit. The way I talked, a little bit more disarming, a little bit more metro. And they'd be like, oh, hi, Chris. And I'd be like, he's so cool. And like, right away, the first impression of the day was completely shifted just by having a number of experiences to slowly influence how I interacted with that part of that day, instead of it just being 1 or 20 experiences, having, a great many of years being able to do that, and to greatly impact the piece that I was able to bring by listening to the feedback that people were giving me.
That's a complete sense, and it happens in the fashion space too, and the beauty space. So with the beauty space, if you go into a cabin to receive a facial or a treatment, you're a guy, what do you know? Once you get over that, because maybe they have the technical knowledge, then it's your comfort as a woman. Do I want to disrobe in front of this man? Do I want to be in this vulnerable position in front of the opposite sex? So you have that. Fashion, same thing. Photographer or stylist, because the industry is full of men who, are not interested in the women. Okay, so they feel more comfortable. You feel more comfortable because you don't feel as vulnerable. He doesn't like what you have.
He's not a threat.
He's not a threat. He isn't interested at all, But then there's this next step, another level, where then you're perceived as a true expert, because if you are not looking at me from that lens or through that lens, then you really can see what you're doing. You really know if it's a good job because you're not biased, because you're attracted to me. It's just this stigma, it's this reputation, and it's this stereotype. You now, because you change your pitch and you're perceived a different way, you may now have an extra layer of expertise. Okay, it's just perceived expertise.
Well, and it is a balance between, you don't want to let the world change who you are. You want to, wake up and be, yourself. You want to love yourself, and you want to engage with the world. You want to style yourself as you present, as you wish, right? But at the same time, if you're going to engage in the world, you're sitting a certain way today, and I've been finding myself mirroring that also. And like there are ways that you do want to be intentional, and in how you shape yourself, how to engage in certain situations, whether it's like the fashion industry, like you're talking about, or weddings, or what have you.
Mirroring one person, some people do it on purpose. I think, this is just my opinion, the Hot Ones host, I think he does it on purpose. Yeah, because when you do that, when you mirror your guest, they feel more relaxed. He's eating those wings 1,000 times already. And he'll tell you each time it's still hot. Each time it still feels the same way. Only difference is, if that's true, he knows that what's coming, right? But it makes your guest feel comfortable. So I've watched the videos. He doesn't touch milk unless his guests touch milk. If they start and reacting and then he'll go with them. He's like, yes, bad, right? Like, and I don't think he's acting, but he will mirror them. He does. I think when you do it on purpose, it is advantageous, okay? But it requires mental work, you know? You're doing it naturally. If I had the attention span, I would do it purposely. You know, I try it. I've tried because I'm also critical of myself. I want to present myself in the best way possible. And I know psychologically that if I mirror you, you'll perceive me better because I'm doing what you're doing. I just don't. I don't remember to do it when I need to. But I think there's a thin line with that. I speak a couple of languages, so when I speak in different languages, my voice changes. Mm-hmm. My mannerisms change. When I'm explaining something, my tone changes. I don't do it on purpose. I'm recalling, I'm thinking, I start to speak more slowly. I don't know why I do that, but that's what I will naturally do. That is okay. I am mindful of how much I do apart from my basic etiquette, because as an African American person, there's something called code switching. Have you heard of that? So code switching is where you behave, you have your normal way of behavior, and then when you get in front of a different group of people, you change. In the workplace, it's very common. You're in front of your colleagues who are the same as you, African American, maybe from the same neighborhood, and you're talking about a song that just came out. And then someone else walks in the room, they're from Kashahaken, you know, and then you change your voice, you change your tone. That is very common. And you'll never know. You know, I can come in here and I can present in a certain way that you would never know that I was born in America. Mm-hmm. I can do that. Mm-hmm. People do it in the workplace. You would never know where they grew up, because maybe where they grew up, society says is a bad place, or these people have, you know, poor values. They're not someone you would want to surround yourself around. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, they've overcome that. Or maybe you have stereotypes about people who use this type of slang or who have this hairstyle. And so you start to assimilate. And it is very common. So there is a conscious decision that has been made in the recent years for people to step away from having to code switch. I want to show up as I am because my work, my performance here should be enough. It should dictate who I am, not who you think I am because now I've changed my hairstyle or I've become more lax with my speech, which everyone does. But if I do it, then it's perceived differently.
Do you think that some of that comes from being a person of color?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. That's why you've never heard the term code switch, but I can guarantee if you put anyone African American in front of you, I can't speak for Hispanic people, but second generations, I would make the assumption that they do it too. I would bet money on it because their parents may not speak. If they don't speak their native language, their parents' native language, it's because their parents didn't want them to have an accent. So they won't speak the language in the household because they know when they go to school, they'll get ridiculed, made fun of. Things will be more difficult if they have an accent. So they lose their connection to their native tongue, which means their grandparents or their relatives who speak that language. They no longer can communicate with them. But none of that matters because we want what's best for the child. You also lose the ability to speak a second language, right? So you lose out on a lot for what you think, what your parents think are better. So you have that. Then you have the other half where they do speak the language in the household. So you may speak English with an accent, maybe, maybe not. When they come into the office space and they step outside of their home, they will speak English a certain way. They will make sure not to reveal their accent. You may never know until you hear them speak to someone from their neighborhood, on the phone with their family, and then I didn't know you spoke like that. It's the same thing with me. You may not know my family comes from Texas until I get on the phone with my mother. And oh my gosh, you're like, what is that? Who are you? You know? But it's only code switching when you feel like you have to do it. When it could be when there's a negative impact, and it comes from perceived prejudice and biases, unfortunately.
Do you find that it's a little bit of a pressure and kind of requires mental energy to change how you articulate, behave?
Absolutely. It's one thing if you were in front of your boss giving a speech and you know it's recorded and you want to make a good impression and sound nice. It's another thing where you have to change almost everything about yourself in order to fit in. And I personally make a conscious decision because I'm a little bit of a
pragmatic,
stick it to you type of person, in the sense that I'm a little stubborn and I've been this way since I was a small child. Don't tell me I can't do something. I will challenge every bias and prejudice that you have in your brain on purpose. So I know I can give you an example. I'm perceived differently by how I have my hair. It's not just me. It is a historical thing. That's why they passed a law called the Crown Act. Have you heard of that? The Crown Act, in very, very simple language, tells your company they can't fire you and say your hairstyle was unprofessional because maybe you have locks, and they won't hire you, or they can fire you because that's unkept hair that doesn't fit the professional description that we have. But this is how my hair grows out of my head, right? So they had to pass a law. Prior to that law being passed, there was a lot of discrimination. And we had a lot of people, and back during the civil rights, we always have to go back in history, but you had to assimilate in order to get a job. So it means in order to survive, earn money, to buy food, to have a home, you needed a job. And the closer you were to whiteness, made people feel what? Less threatened.
What is this thin line? Tell me a bit more about this thin line, the difference between you picking up a new language or me performing a certain way with, an underwear model or a bride, and then like assimilating out of your own culture and into something else, or like performing in a certain way that is not your culture in order to fit into what the perceived social norms is. What's this fine line? And can you point this out? And at what point is it like you're stomping over somebody's culture?
Oh yeah.
Versus that you're adjusting how your experience is for the other person. What's that line?
I think it's about how it makes you feel. If you don't feel good about it, you shouldn't have to do it. You can use it to your advantage. But if you feel like if they knew the real me, it would be problematic or cause unnecessary inconvenience, I don't think that's okay. Obviously, the hard line is if it costs you your job. You're not going to get the job because of how you present. Hard line. The thin line is if I walk in and I change my voice, or if I make my introduction and I say ciao bella instead, or if I'm doing a pitch and I use some French and everyone, ooh, ah, I'm using it, it's advantageous. But if I show up as myself and that's not good enough, or it causes conflict or unnecessary inconveniences, that's not fair. That's not fair. So that's why I'm defiant when I say that I'll come into this open and hope that you don't have any biases or preconceived notions or prejudices. Then we'll be okay. If you do, but there's no malice, then I'm okay to politely explain, correct, and have a dialogue. But if you stand on it, well, then now it's time to have a debate. And that debate can be me allowing you to think what you think, showing up in my full greatness, which will be a direct conflict of your preconceived notion, and then tell you, highlight it, don't run away from it, tell you, I know this is what you thought or what you think, let me educate you and educate you firmly.
Is there any time where that would be completely unproductive in your mind? Is there a further fourth step in which point you're like, this person is so vindictive that even that is going to bear no fruit?
If I determine a person has absolutely no interest in learning, the conversation is null and void. It is literally a waste of time, because my objective is not to be right, because I don't care to be right or you wrong. I didn't wake up this morning trying to prove myself right. If I encounter something that is wrong, then I will address it. And if it's falling on deaf ears, there is a phrase that says, do not cast your pearls before swine. And so that will probably be the last encounter I have with that person. And if it can't be, because maybe you have to work with this person, what I do is I'm never fake or phony, because people, what is it? People like compliments. They don't like flattery.
Ooh,
that's not mine. So I don't know if you can feel if I were to be fake, but I know I could feel it. So what I do is instead I choose to focus on a positive common ground. We both like sushi. I do not like your view on that thing. You know, you definitely have your issues, but let's talk about sushi. So if I have to be around a person that I have already determined is not willing to grow and learn, they want to stay where they're at, and they're biased, they're prejudiced, whatever it is, and I've tried to communicate with them, and I have to be around them, that conversation will be about sushi. It will be about something we have in common, something that is genuine. And anytime that person steps out of line with their biased thoughts, conversation is over. Mm-hmm. Let's get back to this sushi.
That is so huge. Oh, we have this culture, Stacey, of like, oh, you feel this way about this political issue. I hate everything about you, and like it's just like that. We just instantly categorize. Oh, you're a right wing extremist.
Oh my goodness! End the conversation. We can't talk.
You're a left wing extremist, and because of one thing.
Yes.
But for you to be able to say, it's like, wait, I disagree with you on pretty much everything you have to say about most political things, but you do have a favorite flavor of ice cream,
and we love it. Don't. How do you think you make this ice cream? Is it the milk? What do they put in this? Absolutely, absolutely. That is a good example. We're in a climate right now in this country where you can't say anything, you know, like everyone's so far. You have a conversation about ice cream and they're like, well, the milk is bad because of the cows, because of the government. And it's like, well, that wasn't the plan. I just wanted to ask you if you wanted to get ice cream. So I tune it out. But I think it is a flawed way of thinking and living if you discount everything that comes out of someone's mouth because you disagree with their political stance. There is no way that you disagree with 100% of what they think. It's just not possible. Because as the parties exist, they contradict one another, as is. Not the individuals, but the policies, the belief system. It conflicts, because if you believe this, technically you shouldn't support this. If you believe this, same thing over on this side. So there are going to be pieces you like over here and pieces you like over here. But I think it becomes a cult mentality. And people take it personal as if it is an insult to them. And people start to shut down because I can't talk to you.
Or they kill them.
Yes.
Because they disagree with them.
Absolutely. So you will shut down because you don't want to have a conversation, one, where you're not heard, and two, where it's going to turn into an argument. The goal of a conversation, of a debate, of a discussion is to learn and grow. That is the objective. People want to be right, which I think is foolish, because if I just want to talk to you to hear I'm right, I can't grow because I already know what I told you. So we can talk and you can expound on something. And I'm like, I never looked at it that way. You can add to it. So I'm growing, I'm learning something. But if I say something and you say, yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay. If you disagree and you can explain it, then I'll learn. You may challenge my perspective. I'll grow. Or I can say, I enter every conversation with, even with someone that I think or that I assumed or perceived that I'm going to disagree with. Mm-hmm. I enter that conversation like, maybe I'm wrong. Why do you think that way? That's all it's about. Why do you think that way? I may understand your thinking and can still disagree, but there's a thought behind it, right?
A broken clock is right twice a day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Articulate your argument. I don't have to agree, but articulate it. I may learn something. I may learn. You make a point, but I still think it's wrong. I have a hard line with, maybe 2 or 3 things where I'm just like, if you hurt children, I don't care what you think about me. I'm sure I've been called barbaric. It was from someone in Europe. They're like, you can't do that, Stacey. It doesn't work. I don't care until you find a different solution. I'm sending them to this island. They're going to be handled this way. And your wife can stay on my utopia that I have created. Okay. So I have a hard line with certain things. If we can't universally agree that this is wrong, there is a problem. And you don't have to have any conversation with me. I don't care what else we agree about. This is my hard stance. Don't hurt children.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't hurt anybody. But can we not agree on this? If we can't, I don't want you in my presence.
Oh, I love that. And being so aware of like what your boundaries are, and be like, I'm Stacey, I'm fairly open to talk about most things. I have peace in my own heart. I'm not going to let my inner peace be disrupted because you think something different than me. But I do have my limits, and this is my limit. And if you talk about this and you believe this, we can't not find that as a one singular common ground. I don't think we have anything more to talk about. And to be aware that those are your limits and those boundaries.
Just decide. I've been around so many different cultures and different people, and you may have a different perspective, and that's okay. But I think parents universally want the best for their kids, no matter where they are, no matter what socioeconomic background, no education, grand education, no matter where they're from. You want the best for your kids? That's common. You have that in common. There are people who have very little. They keep the house clean. They go through a process. It may be different from ours, but they do it.
What does delusional determination mean to you?
It means going for it, doing it. People may not understand. Most of the times they won't see your vision. But you have to be determined. You have to know it already is and move as such, which you will seem crazy. You will seem delusional, because if it hasn't been done, why do you think you can? Because I know I can. And I'm determined to do it. So when I moved to Italy, I was in my late teens. I got scouted for this television show that was real big for models for the time. Got called into an agency, and I didn't like the way they spoke to me. Didn't feel good. And I'm thinking, you called me. You asked me. I want to do runway. I want to be international. I want to do this. And they said, you do what we say, and if that doesn't work, you can go ahead with your little plan. And all I heard was the word little. And remember, I told you I was a little stubborn. So I said, okay. If you believe in me, so will someone else. So I picked up an Italian CD, and I studied it for about 8 weeks. And then I asked my family, so who's taking me to the airport? I said, to do what? To model. You don't speak the language. Yes, I do. Who, what, when, why, where? Okay, so who's doing it? And I left. For 5 days, I got up every morning at like 5 a.m. I go downstairs. I speak to the guy who worked there, and I would just ask him, is this area safe? Is this? And I would go out and try to look at some apartments. not knowing anything about last month in Italy, it's like 3 to 6 months rent they need. I didn't know any of this stuff. I didn't even have a full-size map. I had the little city map. It was stupid, delusional, ridiculous. But I was determined because that's what I said I wanted. That's what I was going to do. And I took those steps. And by the 5th day, I had a place. By the following week, I had an agency. So determination means being stubborn. Delusional means being extremely stubborn, but executing.
Wow. Is there a difference between the somewhat popular on social media that I see idea of manifesting success for oneself, where you might sit in a chair and just kind of like meditate on the success that's going to come show up at your door, you know, the pizza delivery guys, and actually he's a modeling agency and he's actually going to ask you to to come out, versus what you're talking about, which is like, he's like, no, like, I'm going to go out and do something.
You have to execute, but then you have to allow it to happen. And there's a balance, because on one hand, it's like, well, if I'm sitting here, I'm not executing, right? And it's like, I can't just wait for it to come. Like, how am I still and moving at the same time? So you have to find that balance. For me, that balance is you are taking steps and you are moving, you're executing, but then you are at peace even when it seems like it's not working. You know it is. You believe it is. And it will, because it already is. So before I thought about manifesting, but I believe in God. So prayer, okay? Which some people say, oh, yeah. Prayer, manifesting, you sitting there, you're doing this and that. But you pray to God, because you have to follow your purpose, be on your path. God helps those who help themselves. But you can't do it all. And it's not you. So when you have that chance encounter, that was God putting it in front of you. You're doing the work. And then they come. God will come and give you that blessing. Here you go, baby. Okay?
Or maybe the blessing of no opportunities in which he's trying to teach you something.
Get on your path and nothing can stand in the way. A lot of people quit beforehand, but there is a lesson in every experience, even if we perceived it to be a failure. You know, I think we had this expectation that you're supposed to do it and you just go, your business grows, you make money. I have an award-winning tool right here. You're like, excuse me, I'm supposed to be a billionaire. Me, Bill Gates, you know, like we're up here. Like, we're all us billionaire crew. Where's my pen? You know, like, hello, Stacey Pearl, you know, like.
I think the Bible speaks a lot in terms of seasons. Like, there's a season for planting, and then there's a season for reaping what you planted. There's a season for no food. You're kind of in a famine mode, and then there's a bounty mode. And in those seasons, there's also like sub seasons and like in macro seasons. So, you know, life, you could break down your life in, you know, 4 chunks, like 20, 40, 60, 80, and that sort of thing. And every time one of those seasons hits kind of that winter month, that's the humbling time, where it's an opportunity to remind yourself, hey, it's time to learn something new here.
Being in the hospital, I had to face my own demise. So yes, I do have a different approach to things.
How liberating was that?
Very. Because you every week they're telling me, oh, by the end of the week you'll be out. Oh, it's the weekend. So on Monday they come in, and then it just keeps going and keeps going. And then I started to think, what if I never get out of here? What is it that I wish I had done that I never did? and it didn't have anything to do with money. I like to think of myself as smart, smart enough to learn from other people's mistakes than make them myself. I hope everyone else can follow that method as well. Learn from other people's mistakes. Don't be so dumb that you have to do them for yourself. And so basically I'm saying, I hope most people don't have to be in the hospital to question what really matters to them, but they say you don't realize what you have until you lose it. So you're dealing with health issues, then you start thinking about, oh my goodness, I should take better care of my health. So with that being said, when facing my own demise and questioning what if I never leave here, I now feel like what isn't killing me doesn't matter. I don't care what it is. No, because I can guarantee you whatever humongous, astronomical disaster that happens, until you wonder if you'll ever leave the hospital, you don't have a problem.
I think one of the most beautiful things about practicing a faith, no matter where you are on your belief journey, is I went to Ash Wednesday at a Reformed Episcopalian church, and I've been to a bunch of masses too, and on Ash Wednesday they put the cross on you and they say, "Know, O man, that thou art dust, and to dust thou shalt return. Know that you will die."
We say that we know tomorrow is not promised, but we don't live that way.
Yeah, that just clicked. We don't live that. We live like there's infinite tomorrows.
We just we have the information. We know tragedies happen every day. You could get a car accident, illness, something harsh, accident. We know this exists, but we all behave as if we're going to live to old age and die peacefully. We think that tragedy or poverty or terrible circumstances are in these other countries. It's like right here. There are people who live in an area where the people don't grow up past, the young men may not live past 25 or something like that. And it's a blessing if they do, unfortunately. But for the everyday person, they behave as if they're going to live until they're like 90, And I used to say, live like tomorrow is not promised, but not like you won't be here tomorrow. So you're working, take your vacation. Spend the money. Enjoy. Because you may not be here tomorrow. But do not go blow your entire savings on that new boat like you're going to die tomorrow. No one gave you a cutoff date, sir. So it's that balance of having the freedom, but restrictive, wide range freedom.
It's such a beautiful way to live life.
Well, look, I have discarded to show why I have that mentality.
Especially in the West, there's a lot of freedom that's granted to you, when you become an adult as a young person. The sky's the limit. Usually boundless sense of amounts of time, energy, and there's so much freedom. Freedom, that word that, to do as you wish, whatever. But at the same time, anxiety levels for that particular group of people are higher than they've ever been. And fear and discontent and unhappiness are higher up than ever for our young people, like 22-year-olds who have time and energy on their side. And you feel like you want to control your life. I want to plan the rest of my life, but it's not going according to plan. I'm not where I think I should be. I have all this time, this freedom, everything. I want to control it so bad, and I'm trying to. And I think I should be able to, because that's what I was told I was able to. And then it's not until that control is even violently ripped away and you have no control anymore and you're stuck in the bed with the IV tubes, or maybe you're, I would put in the same boat that you're talking about with health, a severe loss. Like I would say depression, I could put that, severe depression, I would put that as a health issue. So if you're suffering a massive loss, devastating loss or something, and your control is just ripped away from you, it's in that place of like, there is hopelessness there, it's scary, but there's also this, if you're able to move through it, this peace that comes out of, I have no control, I have to surrender.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then every day that comes after that is a gift.
Be smart enough not to end up in that situation. Show gratitude now. Be grateful. And you won't have to deal with that that type of circumstance if you live like you're going to die.
Oh, it's the crippling anxiety of freedom. Wow. I have so much time.
You waste it. And you don't show gratitude, because if you show gratitude, you would take it as a gift. You would take it as a gift that you have two eyes and you can see, you have your vision. But you don't, because you're not around anyone who forces you to realize that. We wake up and we complain, instead of waking up and showing gratitude and being grateful. Some people didn't wake up.
But here's the thing, because that thought has crossed my mind a lot. It's like, if only I could go back to 20-year-old Chris and tell him, hey, do this, X, Y, Z. If only I was 20 again, I could do that. Knowing what I know. It's like, but you know what you know. Do it now.
Yes.
It's like, because 40-year-old is going to look back and say, if only I did this when I was 30. It's like, so just do it now.
Yes, I agree with that. Just do it. Nike did their thing with that commercial. Mm-hmm. Just do it.
Stacey, what's next for you?
What's next? So with my company, Stacey Pearl Skin, we've created world-class technology that is safe and effective for melanin-rich skin. So it's the first of its kind, patented. And recently, we just received a medical journal or a scientific review via a plastic surgeon in their studies using the technology post-surgery, and showing the efficiency of it in France. So I'm proud of that. And I'm looking to see how to introduce this to the medical field in America, as well as introduce our products to the public so they can get their hands on some skin-like pearls.
I love that. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Stacey Pearl Skin. That's Stacey with an EY. I'm one of those Staceys. And I'm also on under an assumed name, because that's young Stacey. And on all social media, just remember, it's Stacey with an EY, Stacey Pearl.
Stacey, thank you so much for coming.
And thank you for having me, Chris. It was great talking to you. I hope that I answered your questions. As I did the best I could. I'm left-handed. I go on a tangent. It happens.
The tangents is where all the gold is. So,
thank you for having me.